Welcome to Strategy Square, a podcast where we explore the dynamic landscape of business design and innovation strategy. From identifying a problem to exploring a problem solution fit to leveraging innovation strategies, we aim to uncover various facets of building a business through interesting conversations with a diverse array of domain experts, CXOs, and founders who share actionable insights from their experience of over the years. Our guest for today is a serial entrepreneur who loves simplifying life with the help of technology. Amit Bhayani is currently the co founder at FlexifyMe, whose mission is to provide holistic health to any lives that get associated with the platform. In his earliest stint, Amit co founded Telestax, a leading global communications platform as a service provider that was acquired by Mavenir a couple of years ago. Amit is an open source enthusiast and has deep knowledge of the telecom world. He has multiple patents assigned to his name, along with incredible contributions to the open source world. The most notable being the entire SS7 stack written in Java. Last but not the least, he's also active in the startup ecosystem and is an angel investor in multiple startups. Let's welcome an amazing human being and a dear friend, Amit Bhayani. Welcome, Amit. Thank you so much for sharing your time with Strategy Square. And over the next hour, I look forward to having an interesting conversation, as always, when we meet in the real world. So we begin with, a quick introduction about you, your journey before you founded Telestax. What has been your entire trajectory? So yeah, over to you, Amit.
Thanks a lot, Sajid. First of all, thank you to bring me on this platform and giving this opportunity. So, about the journey, I've been always, having a mindset of an entrepreneur. Back at that time, we never used to have that word as entrepreneur. We used to say ke jugadu. So, I was always jugadu right from the day one. I can recollect one of the incidents right in the 10th standard where academically I was doing good, and I had quite a few friends who wanted to get their notes written, and they took my help by you do things very fast. Why don't you write for me? And I used to take very small charge from them, even in the 10th standard, and that's where my jugadu mind or business mind started developing. Right. Post that, quite a few things that I did in college as well. Did a lot of work on share market while I was still going through my graduation, my engineering. Got associated with quite a few brokers, and back at that time we never used to have derivatives. We used to call it as a badla system, a very raw form of derivatives. So that's the nature that helped me to have that mindset of keep trying and keep looking out for the gaps and how to fill the gap. Luckily enough, I got into the technology while it was still booming in early 2000s, 1999, 2000. And I realized that technology can really fill the gap much quicker if you can really understand the problem and use the correct way, use the correct technology. It helps you to fill that gap quickly. So then we started with one of the projects, my very early initiative about algorithm on the share market. That was my very first startup. Didn't last for very long. Lost a lot of money. So basically, that was the starting point, and got a chance to start contributing to open source world. And I realized that how the big software companies are making money. They keep it very closed, not giving access to developers like me who wants to learn, who wants to explore what all we can do. So we started doing open source in JBoss, where I was not the co-founder, but very initial team member. We used to create at that point in time the open source middleware application server, and it was selling in very expensive. Like if you want to try it as a developer on your own, it was impossible to download and try from the closed source world. So yeah, JBoss helped me to understand more about software and the open source world. And JBoss got acquired by Red Hat for $350 million at that point in time, quite a big amount. Immediately, me and my co-founder, we started thinking, co-founder of Telestax, we started thinking what next could we do. JBoss, we guys were very early members. We understood the open source, how it helped to fill the gap. So the first thought that came to our mind was telco is like a fenced garden. It's been fenced by Nokias and Ericssons and Huawei's, who never wanted anybody else to even come closer to the technology. So we started doing a lot of work around it in the open source, got quick traction. So basically, the open source world, the technology that we started developing in the telco, been used by all the big giants like Nokia, Cisco, Avaya, you name it, and we guys have been used, including Google. Google started using our open source, so we realized there's a lot of potential, and we started building a product around it. So that's how the starting point of Telestax is. That's how Telestax came into picture. And yeah, we continued our journey for quite some time, grew the business all the way from US till Japan. All the big tier 1, tier 2 telcos started using our platform. And in September 21, Telestax got acquired by Mavenir, again, a US based company. And that's the time when we thought about, or when I thought about, continuing my entrepreneur spirit. I tried to spend few months in a big corporate, but not able to relate at all. So at that point in time, what happened is I started developing a lot of cervical pain. Went out to quite a few doctors, physiotherapists, orthopedic doctors, chiropractors, needle therapy, you name it, and I tried everything. Ultimately, the orthopedic doctor told me, "Ab to tilko jo hai, we'll have to go and do the operation for you." And that was the eye-opening moment for me. I didn't want to go through the needle because I know that once you go through the operation, things changes a lot. You cannot do your normal activity, and I'm always a fitness enthusiastic, so I cannot leave my sports. That's the time when I started doing a lot of research with my co-founder and realized that though you have certain conditions, you can still overcome that if you correctly activate your muscles and correctly train your muscles. So both me and my co-founder, now the FlexifyMe co-founder, we started doing that work, and we got relief from the pain. Even if I go through X-rays or MRI as of today, it will still show my cervical spondylisis, but I'm perfectly fine. I play squash. I just completed marathon 3 weeks back, so I do what I want to do without having the pain. It's not that the pain doesn't come if I'm not having correct posture, or if I'm overusing my body. And we started applying this theory to quite a few of friends, family who had similar issues, not exactly cervical, but lower back pain, or let's say shoulder pains. And we saw quite a lot of difference. And that's where the idea germinated for FlexifyMe, which is a chronic pain management platform. Immediately, we started doing a lot of work on that, and that's where FlexifyMe came into picture. And yeah, as of today, I'm continuing my journey with FlexifyMe as a co-founder.
Excellent, excellent. Excellent. So I know bits and parts of your journey, over the years, but hearing it at one stretch, it's just fascinating. And I know, I think somewhere pre-COVID, you also had six-pack abs, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Thanks, Sajid, for reminding me of that. Yes. So as I said, I was always into sports and fitness enthusiastic. So did a lot of workout. You can say mid-age crisis. At the age of 40, made six packs just to make it happen. Nahi karke dikhana yaar, karna hai kuch to. And that's actually
Exactly.
where my cervical spondylitis also one of the root causes, also because of that, because I used to hit gym regularly and use those heavy weights. After a certain age, you need to understand that your body cannot take load anymore. You have to be very cautious about your posture, very cautious about your movement, the weights you are lifting. It's very important that you do continuous stretching. We all get fascinated by this actors and actresses in the Bollywood, where at the age of 50, 55, they can still maintain themselves. But we don't see what's happening behind the scene. Like later on, I realized that they do a lot of stretches, they do a lot of yoga to make sure that the body is flexible enough. Otherwise, just hitting the gym is not going to help you. Till 30, 35, it's okay because your body is taking a lot of stress. But post that, you have to be really careful. So yeah, I did six packs, and I still have six packs, but I'll say more mentally than physically.
Yeah, which is important, which is important. You've already been there. So interesting, interesting. Yeah. So when you're talking about your, journey with pain management and your journey of making six pack, what it led to, and the experience of, having flexibility in your body, it's not just hitting gym over and over again. So when we look at the journey of an entrepreneur or a founder, there are various challenges which you have to deal with in the early stages. You just cannot have, I'll raise a ton of money, or I will have an amazing team, or I will have an amazing product, and that's it. I will just focus on one aspect of it. everything else falls into place. That's not the reality what we're talking about. So if you can, talk about the from your experience of founding Telestax and also with FlexifyMe, what are the biggest challenges? If you can, talk about at least two of them in the early stages of founding a company.
Yeah, thanks, Sajid. I think that's a great question. So, one of the biggest challenge for a startup is, first of all, make sure that you have a product market fit. You have to make sure that you are solving a real problem, and you're not just creating some artificial need of because just you have an idea, you're creating that artificial need. That's not going to work unless you're solving the real problem. It's not going to happen. One more thing I have realized is most of this budding entrepreneurs as of today, the reason they want to do something or have a startup is to make quick money. So that's a very wrong uh, misconception that you can make a lot of money by startup. Um, as I said, money is going to be the byproduct if you have hit the product market fit and you are really solving a problem. So the biggest challenge, even before the startup comes or takes a life, is think about that product market fit. Kya problem hai, and if your idea is going to really solve that or not. Uh, Once you do that, again, the other challenge that I would say is very relevant in today's market is: are you making that first dollar? Are you making that first rupee from your sales? What is happening is, if you're not making money and if you're just investing too much on the product, again, that's going to be a lot of reluctance or a lot of resistance later on. Start thinking about how to make money. And of course, your team is going to play a very major role. So that could be a very big challenge as well. How to get the right team. The first few members of your team, it's as good as first of even before team, I'll say co-founder. The very first challenge is who's going to be your co-founder, because it's as good as getting married. You'll be spending more time with your co-founder than your spouse. That's how the equation is in the startup world. And there's first four team members. Getting that team member is very critical, very important. And that is one of the biggest challenges. Not that easy to get those 4 5 core team members, because they have to see the same vision that you see as a co-founder. They should be aligned exactly to what you are envisioning. वो थोड़ा भी misalignment रहेगा तो बहुत problem होगा. That is definitely the case. And post that, the third problem I would say is, of course, the money, right? You need to have the correct amount of money to keep your vision going, right? And how do you get it? So while that is a problem, one of the suggestion is, it always starts with you. You need to really be wholeheartedly into your startup. It's your idea after all. It's your baby. So पहले तो आपसे ही start होगा, आप कितना उसमें डाल पा रहे हो. And then of course go to friends and family, make them buy your idea. And once you reach to that, let's say, 1 million ARR, annual recurring revenue, you already had made the product market fit. Generally in a startup world, it's said that 1 million ARR is, if you make that, and then you have reached to a point where you can inflate from there. So that's the time when you go for the outside world and get the money.
Okay, so what I understand, Amit, from you is, you listed down three challenges. One is in terms of do not invent a problem for the sake of it. Actually understand and explore the product market fit. And that can only be achieved from what is the need of the customer or the user. That's where it begins. The second aspect is raising money is not the end of the journey. There are a lot of aspects which you have to do it beforehand, and you shared some tidbits about how do you reach out to your friends and families, and having a positive cash flow is the starting point, because that also builds in conviction in your idea, because idea has to be into execution. You cannot spend a lot of time and effort into perfecting your product, but going out there, getting feedback, that is something which is critical. And the third aspect what you spoke about is the importance of having a good co-founder, and you use the analogy of a spouse, and that is quite an interesting, because that's where you spend a lot of time, a lot of friction in the early days, wherein you're not hitting the necessary KPIs. Friction starts happening over there. So having a good co-founder is something which is mission critical, I would say. Excellent, excellent. So now we move on to the next part of the conversation, which is around innovation. Now, how do you describe the role of innovation in your journey? Because with your telecom experience and FlexifyMe as well, technology is kind of playing a role as an enabler, but innovation also happens across multiple facets of doing a business. So yeah, your thoughts on that?
Right. So innovation definitely as a startup, your DNA should be innovation. Now, when I say the DNA should be innovation, I'm not only saying in your product, I'm saying in everything that you do, your operations, your sales, managing team. Innovation can be in any form and in any department. But you, as a co-founder, you have to make sure that you have been innovating from all the aspects, because being a startup, you have to be frugal, very limited resources that you will be having. So there's no other option but to be innovative about how to best utilize those resources. Uh, Coming to the product, so again, as I said, try to solve the problem. Once you try to solve the problem, then you try to bring the innovation in that. How better or now I can start doing this. So simple example I can give about FlexifyMe is when we started, we realized a lot of people have pain. And it's the numbers are huge. It's like one third of the population of the world is suffering from this, and the more elder you get, that one third starts becoming half of the population of that age group, 40 to 50, has some kind of musculoskeletal disorder. We call it as musculoskeletal disorders, which is back pain, neck pain, cervical, whatever. So we wanted to solve that. So how did we do this? Is first of all, we worked with a lot of orthopedic doctors, physiotherapists, yoga therapists. We started developing those set of exercises that activate specific muscles. Again, nothing innovative out there, right? We didn't go left, right, and center about new technology and all. Just trying to solve simple problem that people had. And right from the day one, we started experimenting, or I'll not say experimenting, we started getting that patient who had a problem, and we started giving those exercise in the purview of orthopedic doctors and physiotherapists, and we saw the results. So, that's how we innovated. First of all, let's try to solve the problem. Now on FlexifyMe, we have artificial intelligence engine. So basically, we have reached to a point where the engine is constantly monitoring the movement of the patient through the camera vision, and with all the training that has been done over a period of time, it can tell you, like, if you are not able to do this exercise correctly or that exercise correctly, what is the problem in your spine or your muscles, how wrong or how correct your posture is, what all we should do about your posture. So that is where we have brought the innovation, where the AI engine is now taking over. We are not confining ourselves to that. We have reached to a point where have developed the engine where you just put your X-ray or you put your MRI, and if you take all of those things out and curate a program for you, depending upon your whole history, your gender, a lot of things it takes into consideration. So that is the innovation that we have brought into our platform. But that did not happen right from the day one. What I'm trying to tell you is put the innovation, but understand when you have to put the innovation. That's very important. While this is about product, which is a core, it's a core of our business. There are a lot of innovations that we did on multiple other aspects. So, for example, sales. For any startup, sales plays a very major role, and if you are not able to keep up the sales, I think you should start thinking about it very seriously. So what innovation we did is we tried multiple CRMs. You cannot be using spreadsheet after a certain point in time. So we used multiple CRMs. We tried multiple things, couldn't achieve what we were looking for. So we developed our own CRM system, which is directly integrated with our platform. And innovation to a point where, the moment you fill a form on our website, you feel that your sales guys is reaching out to you, but actually it's all being managed by the AI engine at the behind. And the patient feels, wow, look at these guys, they are so prompt and so ready to help. And then eventually, when it reaches to a point, then the real human gets into the picture and starts talking to the patient to help them out. So this is the innovation that came on later, right? What I'm trying to tell you is start thinking about innovation, very, very important, not only on one side of the product, but the entire operations, sales, support, everything, how you can improvise and do it in a staggered manner. Do it in a way where, now is the right time to bring in the innovation. Just don't get yourself stuck on the innovation right from the day one.
Interesting, very interesting when you said, because when we speak about innovation, people are either focused on an amazing technology or this is our solution. It is always at the customer side, but there are a lot of things which you need to do, at your end as well. So when you gave an example of sales, you tried multiple options, but you ended up creating your own because which was more personalized, and that's where the knowledge of technology comes into your play. The role of founders wearing multiple hats. That is something which is very evident over here. And very interesting. I haven't tried your platform to experience this. That okay, there is no human, but it's the AI which is kind of interacting with you. But from a customer experience standpoint, this sounds a very interesting thing which you're trying to do. So yeah, I'll definitely explore it. Once. Okay, so moving on, when we talk about tracking of emerging trends, because what you spoke about AI, what you spoke about various CRMs and the other facets which you're talking, there is a continuous tracking of trends which are happening, tracking of technology, tracking of the evolution of behavior of an individual, because you have a pre-COVID world and post-COVID world. Yeah, there are certain things which have kind of gone back to square one, but largely has been a shift in a behavior of everyone around us. So yeah, how do you go about emerging, tracking these trends in technology and these behaviors on a overall basis?
Good point. So, definitely, for any startup to thrive, I'm not only talking about startup based out of technology world, but even if it's a industrial startup, production line or whatever it is, technology is going to play a major role. You will not survive if you are not using the technology. So, definitely, you need to be very sure about what technology is being current, where the market is heading to. You need to be very careful about those things as well. So one of the examples I can give you is just few um, years back, cryptocurrency or crypto was the biggest buzzword, right? Everybody was like crypto. Though it solved many problems, but then people artificially started using it to solve the problem, where the crypto was not required. And that buzz has shifted from crypto to AI now. Like wherever you go, any startup you do, AI has to be there, right? And it plays a major role because it's a psyche or the mindset. If you don't have it, people probably your customers or your investors will not be able to relate with you. Like, okay, you guys are way too old school. So you have to be uh, very current about what's happening in the industry and try to make use of whatever is happening in the industry in your product. But at the same time, as I said, it has to solve the real problem. Just don't artificially inject the things for the name of it. It's not going to fly. So yeah, that's my idea about how to be current about what's happening and how it's going to impact your startup.
Interesting. So, that kind of brings into the mindset of a founder. Uh, you recently got featured on Shark Tank India, and it was, an amazing experience to see you guys, on that platform. So now everyone talks about, okay, you're featured on Shark Tank, you are into this glamour under the spotlight. But being a founder, there are a lot of unglamorous tasks, as you say, which you have to undertake on an ongoing, basis. So, from a founder or a co-founder perspective, what were these unglamorous tasks which were mission critical for your success or for your survival?
I would say, Sajid, there are 90% of tasks which are unglamorous, and coming on a blog like yours or coming to Shark Tank is definitely a pat on the back. But I would say that that's not what makes the business run. You have to be really persistent about your idea. अगर सुबह उठ के अपने आप को मोटिवेट करना पड़ रहा है कि अरे मुझे ये करना पड़ेगा, so then probably you're not in the right thing. You have, and there are, as I said, 90% of things like operations, sales, um, getting the new technology out, getting the product developed. There are tons of things which is unglamorous, but at the end, if you feel satisfied that yes, whatever you're doing is impacting the lives or helping to fill that gap, then if it keeps you going, you're doing the right thing. But there are a lot of things. I'll say 90-95% of the things will be unglamorous. Every day there'll be firefighting, and this firefighting, I'm not talking about small things. There would be some customers who's very unhappy, who wants to get on call and swear on you, like, how did you guys do this to me or do that to me? Sometimes you feel like, oh man, did I do so much incorrect things for this guy or that guy, and you start questioning yourself, right? And then if you are a funded company like ours, then you have investors. Your investors are constantly asking you why this path, why not that path, and why are you so slow this month? Why are you so fast on that month? So as a founder, you have to keep one eye on these short-term goals and one eye on the long-term goals, and
Mhm.
carry everybody together. Your team, your family, your customers, your investors. So all of those things is very unglamorous. And if you're not enjoying, then probably you're in a wrong field for sure. So keep that in mind. 95% of the things that you do in a startup would be unglamorous.
Excellent, excellent. So I think it's the individual's resilience and the perseverance. That's what matters the most, because I think this is a very critical point for people to understand that to reach Shark Tank, it was not an overnight thing that you got a one fine day and oh, you were on Shark Tank. There is a lot of efforts, I would say more than 10 years of efforts to being a overnight success. I do not know who had quoted this, but yeah, this is the reality what we are dealing with. Now, the other aspect over here, you said, keeping everyone together, working as a team, because but at the end of the day, it is also a very lonely journey being an entrepreneur. Your team is there, excellent, but a founder is someone who has way more responsibilities of ensuring that the baby survives. So, how do you manage these lonely episodes when you start questioning yourself? Am I doing the right thing? And this is not necessarily in the early days. It can come anytime that journey. So, how do you kind of deal with it, and whom do you look upon to support during these trying times?
Yeah, that's a great question. Being an entrepreneur is a very lonely journey, Sajid. That's absolutely right. Um, I'll give you a few examples. So, in terms of my previous startup, Telestax, we were on the verge of dying down three times, not one, not two, but three times. And you cannot carry your sad face in front of the team. You cannot be showing that, oh man, I did something wrong, and I'm sorry for you guys. No matter what you're going through, what challenges you're facing internally, what storm is going inside your heart or inside your brain, when you come to your team, you have to look brave. You have to look the person whom they can look upon to make things happen. uh, so yeah, there are quite a lot of challenges that happens, and you at that point in time you feel, it might be cold outside, but you might be getting sweat. I have only 1 month runway. What am I going to do next? Where will I get the money from? How will I pay my salaries? um, so a lot of such moments does happen, and you have nowhere to go. You have to look inwards. You have to think about you as a person. What keeps you motivating? What keeps you going? And what is that one thing because of which you started this startup? What is your goal? Are you inching towards this goal, and are these just temporary resistance or temporary problems that you are facing? So you will not be able to go anywhere, Sajid, and you have to be fully focused at those critical time, and take it forward from there. And that is also one of the times when I say that a very strong co-founder is very, very important, because sometimes it's a problem. Sometimes that things are going in a very bad way. All you have to do is just find a shoulder, keep your head, and shed few tears. And in our case, like in FlexifyMe, both me and my co-founder, we are serial entrepreneurs. So we didn't wanted a shoulder to keep our head and cry on, but we just wanted to look at each other's face and laugh it out, like, oh, okay, ठीक है, और एक बार हो रहा है ये, चलो देख लेंगे यार, something like that. But you cannot carry this to your team or even your family, because what happens is even your family gets scared, like, oh, my son or my husband or my papa is going through so much of stress. You have to hide it from everybody. So it is very lonely journey, and be prepared. But at the same time, it's very rewarding, because, as I said, once things goes in the right direction, you feel that sense of satisfaction. And this is not gonna be happening only in the early years of your startup. It's an ongoing journey. Even if you have a funding, or if you're doing good, things will happen where you have to put your brave face and face the situation. It's gonna keep coming again and again.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you said it quite well, and from your experience as well, that having again, this is one of the trait when you're a serial entrepreneur whom you're taking on board as a co-founder also matters the most. You cannot have a first-time co-founder will not be able to kind of cope up with the challenges. So now coming to the critical aspect of successful exits, right? You have had one successful exit, but there have been instances during that journey with Telestax, like price you felt like, okay, on the verge of shutdown. So yeah, successful exits aren't guaranteed. You have successful fundraising. That doesn't mean, okay, you have kind of moving to the next level. You may still find failure, down the road. So, what? How did you, if you are okay to share, one of these instances wherein you were close to, kind of shutting down Telestax, but what worked then made you again look into the future?
Okay. So let me answer that question. It's quite some time, but I'll try to remember. So again, as I said, one of the very critical factor for any startup is money, right? And it happened so that, for example, I'll say the last incident, right, where COVID hit, and you know we guys were quickly running out of the money. The business was not happening. The sales guy cannot fly across the world to make the business happen. Everybody were very, reluctant to look into the future or spend any money. In fact, if they were spending money, they were shutting down those aspects as well. Like let's preserve the money, right? So that was the very critical moment where we thought, oh my God, what next? How are we going to sustain? How are we going to survive? And that's where how we overcame that is, of course, knocking on the door of our investors, showing that our roadmap and showing that confidence that this is temporary glitch. The moment things starts getting in shape again, we should be on our feet very fast, and that happened. Right, the moment COVID started going down, we started going back to our normal business and life as usual. Right, so well, that is one of the aspects which is at much later stage. I remember one more incident at a very early stage when Telestax was just maybe 2 years or 1.5 years, and all the money that we had was already gone. The runway was only for 1 month, and we guys were like, what next? What next? What next? How will we make it happen? But again, we put on our brave face. We went to our team. We explained that this is the situation, guys. We are in a very bad phase in terms of money, but not in terms of moral, not in terms of the vision we had, not in terms of the product belief that we had. We know this is going to happen. Maybe we are early in the market right now, but it's happening. We took up examples how other companies are using us at that point in time. As I said, quite a big companies like Cisco, Avaya, they just started using us. So we explained that this is how it's going to be. We require some time from you in whatever sacrifices that you can make in terms of pausing your pay for some time or putting in extra hours. So we left it completely open to our team and very honest, very open, took any questions they had. We gave an offer that anybody who cannot take this pause in salary, or anybody who cannot believe in us, please come to us face to face, set up a call with us one on one, and it's my responsibility. It's my job to get you a job. It's not that because you are not supporting me or you cannot be part of this journey with us, we are not shutting door on your face. You already did a lot of work for us, and there were few guys who couldn't, for whatever reason. I don't want to get into the reason. Whatever reasons, we helped those guys, whatever ways, to create a LinkedIn reference, to make them reach out to few guys, because we believed in our team. There's never a time when we don't believe in our team. If that's the case, the member will know that they are not culturally fitting, even in current organization. So they'll know they are not a correct fit for this company. But the people who stays with us, they did get properly rewarded. So that's how we faced that challenge, and we brought down our burn almost by 50%. A lot of people stayed with us, and then when the tides went the other way, everybody got rewarded again. That's how it happens. So be honest, be open to your team, and things will turn around.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think because it's more about how your team works with you. That kind of defines your success, and being transparent. And so there are two aspects of it. One is being transparent with telling them everything what is going around every single point of time, versus being transparent in terms of with our emotions, but not really making them demoralized. because that is something critical. Because you are kind of a parent whom the children look up to, and if they see any low morale, that is going to have an effect. And meaning the attrition is something which is a very common thing which we experience in the industry. Very interesting. At different stages of Telestax, that's what you shared. I wouldn't really get into FlexifyMe because it's still a very early stage in your journey, but it has been a phenomenal journey, so to say. I think it's 2 years now, and the kind of traction which you have received, which is just amazing. So now that brings the question to, so far you have worked always for the global clients, although you had a base in India, but you were kind of looking westward when it comes to your customers. Now with FlexifyMe, you are actually doing business in India, dealing with Indian customers. Some nuggets of which you can share with us in terms of how different it is to dealing with Indian customers, Indian investors versus what you see in the West.
Okay. So basically, definitely the economy matters a lot, Sajid. US being the biggest economy of the world, doing business in US is very different from doing business in India. You may not require masses. You don't have to go to many people in US to do business. Of course, it all depends on your product as well, right? I'm not saying that this is a general theory that you can apply. It depends a lot on your business as well. Versus in India, it's a game of masses, right? You have to be very cautious, or you have to be very thoughtful about your price points. Indian is a very price sensitive market, and again, as I said, US is a very different in terms of price sensitivity. So all of those things matter. In terms of VC thought process, uh, we always have to keep in mind that all of the VCs are here to make money, right? No matter whether you are in US or India, doesn't matter. But they are doing this to get the money for their LLPs, their ventures. So
Correct.
we always have to keep that point in our mind, that it's if you're not able to give the money back to your investors, I'm not saying money back. I'm saying if you're not able to multiply the money invested by your investors, nobody's going to trust on you, or nobody's going to believe in your idea or whatever you're doing, right? So you always have to keep that point in your mind. Um, the other thing is, of course, as I said, in US there are many more VCs. The scale is very high versus in India. Now things are changing, of course, but the scale is lower. So the amount of energy that you have to spend, or the amount of the work that you have to do to raise the money in India would be a bit more compared to US. That was my experience. But again, both of those happened at a very different stage of the life, right? Telestax happened at a time when there was no winter in the VC market. FlexifyMe happened at a time where there was a heavy winter in the VC market. So, raising even $1 was painful. So I would definitely tell you is always keep in mind the generic nature of the VC. Understand your VC. First of all of them are there to make money. So if you cannot show them how they're going to make money, it doesn't matter whether you're in US or India, it's not going to work. Try to understand the VCs who are ready to invest in your segment. So you have to understand, the vertical. Health is different, telecom is different. You need to understand that this VC is only focusing on seed or A series. So what is the sweet spot? This VC is only focusing on B2C market. This VC is only focusing on B2B market. Try to understand all of those things before you go and approach your VC. Then probably you will be able to get your perfect match quicker. If you just go and speak out to everybody, very difficult. It'll take a lot of more work to get that first dollar, that first check signed. So yeah, I think that those are the few things or learnings that I've done or I've come across in both the startups.
Interesting, interesting. So I think what you gave the perspective of funding winter of FlexifyMe versus when you were raising funds for Telestax, the world was very, very different. And I think that kind of understanding of that context really matters a lot, because then every dollar to raise, the efforts are kind of multifold, and the probability of successful fundraising is kind of zero. Let's put it at that, versus what it was around 5-6 years back, wherein anyone and everyone with the idea could be funded, because there was a huge flooding of money which was available in the ecosystem. Interesting, very interesting. So now coming to your experience with Shark Tank India. Now, I have been following Shark Tank for many years now, especially the US version. And when Shark Tank India was launched, there were certain perspectives which people spoke about. One thing it did from an Indian startup ecosystem perspective is it kind of brought in the conversations about startup in the family as well, because I have my parents, my kid, kind of talking the same language now versus it was just me who was speaking about it or my wife speaking about it. So I think that's a great service to the nation, if I can say, which Shark Tank India has done, wherein they've made it startups kind of commonplace. And so how was your experience? And if you can kind of break it down into the process and the day when you were in front of the sharks.
Right, Sajid. So I think you're rightly put here. The Shark Tank India has made the startup world so common for the entire nation, right? Like everybody now understands what is startup versus 3 years back or 4 years back before Shark Tank came into post cast live. Very few people understood, and I think they have done a phenomenal job here. Shark Tank India and Sony has done a phenomenal job to make sure that everybody understands what is startup and what is the journey of a founder or how it really happens. Coming to your second question about my experience, so very different because as I said, we have raised money from VC. We know how exactly the VC world works versus Shark Tank, which was also very similar to VC world, but very different in a way. So how was it different is, when you go to the VC world, you have a lot of interactions with those VCs. They don't decide within a couple of hours of your meeting. They first talk to you, then they call you back, then they ask you to submit a lot of documents, then they do a lot of work on your vertical, on you as a person, on your startup, and it's kind of building a relationship, right? If I'm meeting a stranger, I'm not going to go and tell him, "Arey, chal aaja, baith ke chai peete, or let's have a beer." It's going to take some time, That's how even VC works. You have to build up that relationship, and then the trust happens. For the early startup, it's all about founders. Generally, the early startup VCs are investing in the founder, so that relationship has to be built. Shark Tank, on the other side, was the sharks have to make decision in those 2 hours. So basically, they show the program for 15-20 minutes, but actually, when the founders goes and does the pitch over there, it's for around 90 minutes or 2 hours, and they have to take decision in that time. So it's a big challenge, and hats off to all of those sharks who are sitting out there. It's a very high pressure job to take decision in just 90 minutes. If I would have been there, I would have been very scared. Like, अरे मैं किस पे पैसा लगा रहा हूँ, ये सही भी है कि नहीं है. So they are doing a very great job, and of course we got funded by Namita Thapar. Amit Jain was also ready to invest in us. So they saw the vision, they understood the founders, and with that kind of experience that they have, it takes time. It doesn't just happen like that. So while that was the overall context where the sharks has to take decision in a go, the process is you have to apply yourself to their site when it opens up. I think it opens up in March or April for the next season. Once you put down all your details in their site, they they do the verification, and then if you are getting it, then they'll tell you, okay, come for the phase 2, which is again putting more details on their site. So you have to back up your claim in the application that you have made through lot many more documents, multiple more things. That is the phase 2. Then if you go through that, they will call you for face-to-face interview, where it will take a lot of time, probably 2 hours, 3 hours, where the guy who's sitting on the other side of the table representing Shark Tank is kind of a VC, or would have played the role of VC in her or his life, and understands the startup ecosystem. So they're gonna ask you a lot many questions about the entire thing, about your entire startup. And once you go through that, again they'll ask you a lot of questions to back up whatever you have been positioning yourself as, right? And then if everything goes well, comes the final stage, where you would be finally put to shocks, but it doesn't happen on day one. So basically, again, you will go to the set. They'll ask you to give your pitch. If required,
Mhm.
they will suggest few modifications that you may take, you may not take, but you have to understand, that they are also putting a um, show on the TV, and the KPI is how many more people will watch it, right? So you have to keep that in mind. Versus VC is, as I said, all about when will they get their money back and multiplied. So two different requirements out there, right? So one set of the requirement is how the television will get the viewership. One set of requirement is how the sharks will get their money multiplied. So you have to keep those things in mind. And you'll rehearse for a day or two, whatever it takes. But when you go to the shark in the tank, there's no rehearsal, there's no retake. It's all in one go. Takes anywhere between 1 hour 45 minutes to 2 hours, and they have to take the decision. You have to take a decision whether you have to take the money or not, and that's it.
Okay, very interesting. I think the difference which you spoke about VCs and sharks, I think that is very, very critical, and this is something which people need to understand the process. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. Seeing that live streaming which which you had hosted, and seeing two sharks fighting for the investment. Although we knew the result that okay, you guys have been funded, but witnessing that was like, okay, is it going to happen? Not. Is it going to happen or not? I think that was a good way of also engaging with the more and more viewers. Excellent. So I think we have done with the heavy lifting of our conversation. We spoke about from a business perspective, what are the different variables at play, how does innovation play a role, and then the mindset of the founder. And I think there are a lot of insights which are already there. So I'll to kind of as we reach the closing of the session, I have just a couple of questions, not a rapid fire, but just making it very lighter in that sense. So, what is that one piece of advice which you would like to give your younger self when you were first starting out?
So just one advice that I will give is, uh, if you have a dream, chase it. There is no right or wrong time. No matter there's a winter going on in the VC world, or the timing is incorrect. Don't think about those things. Just chase it. Attempting is more important than anything else.
Excellent, excellent. So I think that passion, what people say, is something which is very, very critical over here. Right. The last question is: is there a book or a resource which has been helpful for you in this journey of being an entrepreneur?
I read book almost. I finish a book almost every 15-20 days. So lot of books. If you're starting up fresh, go with a book called as Lean Startup, which talks about
Mhm.
MVP, zero to one game, crossing the chasm. Uh, these are the few books that I can recollect from top of my head. Um,
Mhm.
Read books on atomic habit to how to make your because it's not your uh, I'll say it's not the amount of energy that will help you, it's the discipline that will help you over a period of time. You're not doing a sprint. Startup is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And the marathon requires a lot of discipline. So, this atomic habit will help you to develop that habit of improving bit by bit. And once you start understanding that, you will be a completely different person by end of the year. The other book that I can recommend is Grit. There's a book on grit, like how persistently doing something again and again, again and again, and how you can become master of that. So, these are the few books I definitely recommend. From the
Mhm.
product perspective, from your individual, you as a person, you as a character perspective. But there are many, many more books that I've read about, and maybe in the comment section I'll put down all the books once I recollect.
Sure, sure, sure. Thanks for Amit. Some of the books I've kind of read, like Lean Startup, Zero to One, Atomic Habits is midway. Grit, I have Angela Duckworth, I believe she is the author. So I have read some snippets of that. So yeah, very, very interesting. And reading is something which kind of keeps you uh, fresh. Let's put it that way, because the way things are around us, we are kind of in our own zone, own comfort zone. So I think reading gives us a window to other people's mindsets. Yeah, so I think this was a wonderful conversation, Amit. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, we look forward to meeting you in person, and maybe we can do a follow up sometime later on a different topic altogether. But we'll pick up one micro topic and we'll kind of go all the way into that. So thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot, Sajid. Thanks once again for bringing me on this platform. Thank you.